Hello, everybody, and welcome to the One Trick Hero podcast. This is episode 6. I am your host, Paxfos, and I am joined today, as always, by the one and only Voxia.
Hello.
And Fish Whisperer.
Goodbye.
That's it, we're done.
Oh, man. This week, there wasn't much to cover.
Yeah, there was no Overwatch this week. We didn't watch any at all. Didn't take up our whole Saturday.
It's next week.
Anyways, folks, welcome to the show. We're actually doing things a little bit differently today. I know we say that all the time, but
yeah, change is scary, but bear with us.
Yes. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be going over our plays of the week, as we always do. We're going to kind of go over the matches. Also, after the clips, we're going to go over all the matches that happened this week and kind of just how this week progressed in general. Going over team plays and up and rising stars, kind of the stuff that we normally go over. But we're going to kind of cap it at that because there's a lot to talk about in that regard. And as far as news and kind of stuff as the stuff that's progressing with the league in itself, now that we're at the end of stage 1 and progressing into stage 2, we're going to cover all this stuff in our next week's podcast because there is no Overwatch League being done this week. So
sadly,
yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Stage 1 and done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go over all that next podcast, kind of, and that way there'll be more news to talk about, and that'll kind of just be our way to segue into stage 2. All right. So before we start with the plays of the week, we're gonna go ahead and go to the match ticker, and we're gonna start this off with Fish Whisperer. Why don't you go ahead and give us the matches that happened this week and their scores?
All right. Okay. So Wednesday, our matches. You're going to have Dallas Fuel beating the Shanghai Dragons 3-2. You're going to have the Gladiators taking a game off of San Francisco 3-1. The Valiant was able to 3-0 Seoul Dynasty. Then on Thursday, the Fusion were 4-0'd by the Boston Uprising. Florida Mayhem lost 0-3 against the New York Excelsior. And Houston 3-1 London Spitfire. Then on Friday, the Dallas Fuel won 3-1 against the Gladiators. Seoul Dynasty was able to win 3-2 against San Francisco. The Valiant 4-0'd the Shanghai Dragons. Then on Saturday, biggest day, New York won their first game with London 3-2. Houston was able to beat the Boston Uprising 3-2. Florida actually held on for a long time and was competitive against the Fusion, but they lost in the end 3-2.
Unfortunately for us, man.
Yeah.
I want to watch that series.
It was actually okay. And then in our moving into stage finals, the first one for 2-3 was London Spitfire against the Houston Outlaws, and London ended up winning 3-1 against the Outlaws. Then London, for the third time that day, took on another team that was New York Excelsior, and they were able to win 3-2 in the somewhat of an upset win and to close out stage finals and win the first stage of the Overwatch League.
The just for our audiences know, in case they don't know, the playoffs, the stage playoffs is what they're called. I think they should probably be called something else because it's easy to think that we're talking about the actual like league playoffs, the season playoffs. The stage playoffs are basically just show matches. The results of those mini playoffs basically they don't go towards the total score for the actual playoffs. It's basically just a show match. It's for a $125,000 prize pool. $25,000 goes to second, and the first place winner of that gets $100,000. It's 3 teams. The second and third battle out to fight the first. So anyways, but there was definitely some shuffling around in the actual standings. So Vox, why don't you go over the up-to-date standings for us?
All right, the standings as of now, today, the 11th of February, 2018. New York Excelsior is number 1. Houston Outlaws are number 2.
Number 2,
Third
number 1
is London Spitfire. Coming in 4th are the Los Angeles Valiant. 5th is the Seoul Dynasty. 6th is Boston Uprising. 7th is the Philadelphia Fusion. 8th are the Los Angeles Gladiators. 9th is San Francisco Shock. 10th is Dallas Fuel, and 11th, Florida Mayhem, and all the way at the bottom in 12th, last but not least, is the Shanghai Dragons.
There you have it, folks. That is the updated standings. All in all, definitely not what a lot of people predicted for the end of Stage 1, at least back in preseason and even even beginning of Stage 1. That was definitely not where people saw these teams ending up, at least most of them.
I don't think anyone would have predicted Seoul coming in 5th.
Yeah.
I think pretty much everybody, us included, were like, they're definitely top 3. Worst they could do is like 3rd place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
that didn't happen.
I remember the consensus in preseason was like, all right, top 3: London, Nixle, Seoul, and Dallas. And Dallas might be able to get to 3rd.
4.
I meant top 4. Yeah, that was the consensus for top 4. Excuse me. And we have one of those teams being in the bottom half, and the other one
Dallas.
in the middle. Yeah, the other one being in the middle of the pack, or a little higher than the middle of the pack. But it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
The matches, especially on Saturday, were crazy. They were high octane from start to finish. A lot of really good plays. In fact, so many good plays that we couldn't really come up with a good bottom clip that we like what we normally do, because there's just such high level play. We might have to scrap that whole idea altogether, because the gameplay is just getting tighter and tighter. So
yeah, the closest we had this week was just C9 doing the old Classico of C9ing on a point, but
C9. But
we think it's more fun to highlight an extra good play than just bring up another C9.
Yeah, this week we were running a full 6 stack, so everything was good.
Yeah, exactly. All good. So let's go ahead and go right into plays of the week, and our first one is brought to you by Voxia. So go ahead and take it away, my friend.
All right, let it roll. We starting you off with a big bang. This is Pine here, just taking heads. He goes for this flank that's pretty unconventional. Most Widows won't hard flank like this. Pine isn't most Widows, so this is one of the reasons it ends up being so successful, is because he pretty much just catches the Spitfire completely off guard. And I mean his aim is just smooth as butter. There's only so much to talk about here, because you can see everything here. He gets a quad kill. Just
Yep.
I don't know, kicking ass at taking names, this guy.
Exactly. No, I'm glad that we saw this week more Pine being played. I'm glad I'm glad they're using him more.
Not just on the control points. They're trying to work him in more on the, trying to add a little more depth to their strategy with him coming in.
I think Nixle has a really good thing going, where they're using their subs as strategies and less because like the way Houston uses Boink. It's like, hey, he's a Lucio specialist, so we use him more maps that we're strong with Lucio, or comps that we can run with Lucio, et cetera, et cetera. But with Pine, it's less that, he's a Widow, so he's not really a specialist. More so, he just has a certain gameplay, like a certain play style, and the team switches styles. It's not even about comps or maps per se. It's more just the way they play, and they're using him to as a
I mean,
counter,
they do still tend to play him primarily on maps where McCree and Widow are the best DPS.
I mean, he is good at hit scan.
Well, they give him a spot where he gets the opportunity to do that aggressive flanking on some of those that aren't
exactly. Yeah, then they're getting better at playing around him doing that. But
I mean, right there, that's a super aggressive position if you're not playing Widowmaker, let alone for Widowmaker. He's like right on top of him, and he's peeking him on Widow. And since he's good enough to get headshots, he makes it work. But he's one of the only players that can play that aggressive on a character like Widowmaker and be able to pull something off.
Yeah, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm not really the Widow player of the group, but most Widows will primarily set up on that far kind of ledge area where you can see into that room that Pine is standing in for flankers come through there, but not many Widows go into that room themselves and just put their scope out the end of out of the room, just snorkeling for people.
There's a lot of Genjis that don't play that aggressively, so
yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
That's one of the things I like about Pine.
But one thing with
too bad he's on such a passive team, all right?
Yeah. We've been discussing that amongst ourselves lately, but there's been some calls from the casters calling in Nixle. Every once in a while, they call him patient and passive, and it's like, I don't know. They've had some times where they're doing that, but it's definitely intentional.
Yeah.
Their best play is when they're aggressive. I mean, Savi Olby I don't know if Sabiol.
He is an aggressive.
He's an aggressive player, and
He's like the most aggressive tracer.
I would agree with that 100%. But what I was gonna say was I'm glad what we're seeing now, especially amongst the higher tier teams, is we're starting to see a lot more depth and strategy in their subs and how they're using them. Less just like, oh, well, he's better Lucio, so swap him in. And we're starting to see more mind games. Like there was a lot of this, and we'll go into probably a little more detail on this later. But there was a lot of mind games between London and Nixel as far as how they were playing and who they were playing. Beyond just the mechanical and the hero specialty, it was pretty cool to see. And London London definitely has a leg up on that because of their 12-man roster. They have tons of bodies to filter through.
Yeah, exactly. Now they've got some of the kind of kinks that comes along with having that many players ironed out, so to speak.
Yep.
They've got so much depth of the roster to flex and cover so many different changes in the meta in the future, or just a player underperforming and shit. They're in a really good spot. Really good spot.
Perfect segue, because our next clip, which I am bringing you, is the London Spitfire, and more in particular Birdring. So right here we have Birdring on the 76. They're pushing attack against New York Excelsior, and Birdring gets attack visor here and just gets a nice solid quad. Now another thing, you might think there's nothing too crazy about a Soldier 76 alt thing, and to a degree you might be right, but his positioning, and more importantly positioning of his team and how they set him up for this, is what's truly incredible. And honestly, I just wanted this to be one of the clips as well, because Birdring really stepped up his game during this series, this matchup, this last week. But yeah, over here you can see that he when he gets his tac visor and he has it ready, his whole team dives in. The D.Va, the Winston, they all go in to give him basically a little human shield and an actual shield from Winston for him to be able to go through and do cleanup. That's basically what they needed to be able to secure the point and get the push. And it's these clutch plays that London has been coming up with over and over again, especially this last week, that really is what won them the day. They had a lot of times where it looked like they were about to be, they weren't going to make it. Like they were going to lose the map, they were going to lose the point, whatever it may be. And at the last second, they'd pull together some really clutch strategies and really clutch moments and teamwork that brought them the win at the end of the day. And Birdring was behind a good chunk of that. I don't think I have the clip here, but there was another one where he was, I think this was in the actual finals, but he got a backline. He got a Widowmaker, was backlining Nixel. Like it was insane. And
that's one of the reasons that Nixel ended up losing. They were I mean, it was a good crossfire setup from London, to be fair, but they kind of ignored him. They weren't challenging him. They were focused on everything else, and Birdring is able to just be on the side and behind them and just he's gonna hit his shots. So he was just completely uncontested in those points, and just taking heads.
Yeah, out of all the high-end players on that last series of what would be the stage finals for this chunk, Birdring definitely performed the best. He was consistent every time. He made big plays when they needed him to make big plays for them to be able to stay in games, and he was probably one of the biggest reasons why London was able to end up finishing it out.
Yeah, Birdring is just, he's always been good, but he really, like we're trying to highlight, he just kind of brought it, he was an kind of extra this weekend, and it really showed.
Came up close.
But back to this clip too, it's the 76 ultimate, which isn't necessarily that impressive to watch, but the thing is that he wasn't playing 76 the whole time. They swapped to it because they knew they were going to run into overtime. So obviously, it's not that foreign of a concept even for a lot of people. You get on the 76 because you can sprint to the payloads, you can get there faster to contest, you can throw your biotic field down to drop some healing on there for yourself and any teammates. But it's like Pax is hiding. The reason it's so good is because they play around it perfectly. They knew they were going to get in that brawl spot, so he was able to charge up his ult, which is exactly what you want to do. You get the attack visor, and you could just lay down so much damage when people are frantically running around the point. There's not much to deal with it unless you have tanks that can just get in his face. But he also, they demech the D.Va before he popped his ultimate, of course, because if she had her, if she has her mech, she can defense matrix. But I really like this little micro thing right before he pops his tac visor, if he dips just out of view behind the payload, but he can still see in the hallway. So while he's in his animation for starting it, before he can actually shoot people, he can't get hit by any other, in any crossfire or anything from out on that side of the map. So, it's just all those little things that players at this level do that 99% of people don't do that can really set things apart.
Yep.
Yeah, he uses that 76. He actually uses that diva, which would be his counter, to actually build the ult that ends up letting him secure that. So that
That's
it's
the best
this
thing
little
about Tank.
stuff. Yeah,
Ult
it's that little
batteries for
stuff
good
that he does
DPS.
that just lines him up to be able to finish that push.
Yep. It's that teamwork and technical mastery that we keep harping on that really is what separates these guys from even your average ladder comp or even top 500 players. It's really awesome to see, and I can't praise it enough. What was the next clip?
Oh,
Vox.
speaking
of someone you can't
terrifying single players in a game, that
Oh,
segues
yes.
to our next clip.
Go ahead, Vox.
All right, this is a super clutch from my boy Sabiolbi,
Ooh.
favorite player, if you weren't aware. So anyway, they're here on Oasis. Obviously, they're in overtime. He's doing kind of what any good tracer, or at least decent tracer, is going to do in this situation, just trying to utilize his blinks pretty cleverly, get as much damage as he can, and create as much nuisance in that small area as possible to both take pressure off his other teammates, but create enough pressure for his teammates to, throw other stuff in there. He manages to get he realizes Zenyatta has kind of singled himself out in the middle of this. So he gets him, doesn't finish him off, blinks around, finishes off the Zenyatta. That gets a res out of Mercy. Then he's able to go around, chase the Mercy, finish her off. He gets those crucial picks that they need. Meanwhile, Libero's of course pumping out tons of damage on his own on the other side of it. But he's so good. He gets that pulse bomb on fucking Soldier too, right before he finishes off the Mercy, which means that that's one less person out of their fight. He takes 4 of them out, and just is such a nuisance on that point. Like, it's so I love watching Sabiolbi play. His passive play style, where he's just always in the middle of the action, not doing a whole lot. It's so good to see.
I mean,
and that's obviously him being facetious. He's it's funny because I didn't take my play style from watching him. We just kind of play similarly. This is I tend to play Tracer the same kind of way, so it's especially special for me to watch this kind of stuff because it's just a better version of me, a way better version of me.
Yeah, no, this is like what we were talking about when they said passive for New York. I mean, New York knows when to hold them. I mean, we're not saying New York just goes and throws everything all at once, throws all their ults, throws all their abilities. That's not what we're talking about when we say aggressive. We just mean they don't often wait for the mistake to be made. They pressure
they
them
try to
into
force mistakes.
They force
out
mistake
out of
their
their
enemies. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's the difference between aggressive and passive play and basically everything. At least as far as I know it.
Exactly.
That's what I do, and I'm an aggressive player. I try to be in my opponent's face as much as possible, so I can force an error out of them that I can take an advantage of and win. I mean, but it's not even just Sabiolbi too. I just don't know how you can think the team is so passive. Like, again, they have played certain maps passively and matchups passively, but I think it's primarily been against teams that they think are kind of lower than them in skill, so they want to hide strats probably. They want to play a more standard and just feel out that kind of thing, right? Because you don't need to play a full card if you don't need to, right?
Right.
But I mean, even Meko. I mean, I have tons of clips that we haven't made it in here yet from Meko. Meko is just a super ridiculous bully. I mean, I'm pretty sure he just, it's like he wants these players lunch money. Every time he sees them, he's just like, hey, twerp, and he just flies straight into their face and just starts beating on them. It's amazing. I love watching it. Doesn't matter if he's playing Diva or Roadhog or I don't know, anything else. He's just constantly in their faces, and Sabiolbi does the same. That's another reason that Sabiolbi I don't have the statistics on hand, but he does miss a fair amount of pulse bombs. But it's not because he can't hit them; it's because he uses them in situations where it's not always guaranteed he's going to get one. But I mean, that's kind of how Tracer's played anyway. You get that ultimate and you can get it up so fast, like I've talked about before. doesn't really hurt you to try to fish for one if you miss. But
Right.
Sabioli does it even more, and in sometimes even more questionable situations than others will. Because if it doesn't work, whatever, you just get it out. When it does work, and it's just some crazy pick, it's worth it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Over here. Oops.
Right.
Sorry, I'm messing around in the windows here. Alrighty. So our next clip is brought to you by Fish Whisper, and
next
obviously it's by Fish Whisper
Best
because
clips.
it involves Houston. So
And a lot of links, sir.
and a lot of links, sir. Go ahead, my dude.
All right, so what we're going to have here is Boston's attempt at their final push to take this point. So Houston's going to get set up. Linkster's going to actually get the DMAC here before the whole thing starts. So Boston's going to come in for the push, and they're going to pick off Note initially in that Baby Diva, which is going to be helpful. Then when they come in with the Winston dive, Jake's going to get his tire wound up and ready to go. When he does that, Cool Matt and Muma are going to screen off the tank's ability to shut that tire down. He's going to use the tire and get the Winston. Right after he gets that Winston, Linkster's going to pop the High Noon, and then Boston's got nothing to deal with that, and Linkster's just going to pick off the rest of their line because they got nothing to deal with it. Raucus uses the Transcendence for good measure, and it's just a good all-around team play and counterplay into a Boston team that is really, really good. And it's just a full shutdown.
Yep, that's literally exactly what happens. It's Boston's dive. I mean, I don't think anybody can really argue too much against that Boston is our kings of dive. They really know how to play that comp very well.
Yeah.
The synergy between Dreamcasper and Striker for their DPS is just nutty, and Note and Gamsu are extremely aggressive.
It's funny to me too, because before they kind of hit this hot streak where they really started, doing well,
Yeah.
they were being criticized for the exact same thing everybody's praising them for now. People are like, they can only play dive. They keep running the same strategy and it's not working. And I mean, those are valid criticisms, but it's entertaining to me because they stuck with it and they just kind of improved a little bit of stuff that was going wrong with it, which I think was mainly just their teamwork together. And now that they have the kind of backbone for that dive, they've become the most convincing dive team. It's interesting. What is a strength or what is a weakness today is a strength tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Could be anyway.
Exactly. No, but even though Boston's offense and especially their dive is phenomenal, the Houston defense, as Fish pointed out,
Green wall.
Yeah,
Green wall.
Well, not called green wall for
It's
nothing.
not a meme. It's a real thing.
The wall.
Yeah. I mean,
Houston-
if Trump really wanted a good wall, not to bring politics in this, I apologize, but he should probably look into
hiring the
optic.
Outlaws.
Yeah, the green wall.
Couldn't afford it. Too nice of a wall. There can only be one.
Exactly.
No, but Houston's defense is phenomenal. Always has been. They've come up with really good clutch plays, and especially here we see them. It's not like the amount of pressure Boston was bringing on them was nothing. It really wasn't. It's immense pressure, and a lot of teams caved to it. But Houston really knew how to take that and work with it.
Yeah, we saw Valiants cave to it.
Yeah,
Philly,
and
quite a bit.
The Outlaws did a really good job this entire series versus Boston, and they ended up winning at the end, which was great. Honestly, like I'm primarily a Boston Uprising fan, but I also really enjoy the Outlaws. And man, even though the Uprising lost, I was happy. It was a great game. They brought it to 5 maps. Outlaws eventually won 3-2, but it was neck and neck the whole way. I mean, there was an amazing play by Dreamcasper, followed by a follow-up with Jake, and then it was just so back and forth. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful game, and I'm looking forward to seeing both teams getting better, because they are getting better. They've gotten better since the beginning of Stage 1, and now they're over here in the top half of the standings. Houston at number 2.
Yeah.
That's saying something. That really is.
Team 2, number 1.
Remember when they were a potential playoffs contender?
Exactly.
No, like we all thought from preseason, Houston will be in the playoffs. They will be one of the top 5 teams.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were from the start. They, at least in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, no, what more can we say? All right, so Fish, you have the next clip.
I do have the next clip. Let me bring that up for me. All right, so in the next clip, we're going to have some of Prophet's Junkrat play, which is nice of Jake to let him play Junkrat for a couple times. But
Yeah.
So Prophet's going to start that off initially, and he's going to toss that mine, and he's going to pick off Jonak and Savioli, and then he's going to throw his other mine, and he's going to pick up Arc. So now Prophet has single-handedly taken out both of the support lines and one of New York's arguably most dangerous players in Savioli, which just immediately shuts down the entire push. And he had been doing that with mines the entire matchup that they had, and it was neat to see just how strong both of the DPS core was for London throughout that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll probably we kind of decided we'll hit more on Bird Ring because he kind of played above expectations, but you know, Prophet certainly deserves a lot of praise too because this guy is super consistent, and a lot of the reason that Bird Ring was able to be so good and get a lot of these anythings because they were spending so much time just dealing with Prophet too. It was constantly getting picks, constantly finding these healers and stuff. If Prophet wasn't doing it, Bird Ring was doing it. Bird Ring wasn't doing it, Prophet was doing it. They're playing off each other so well.
We're starting to see, especially with this meta. I mean, stuff with the meta, everything changes, but especially with the Mercy patch meta, and any meta that's balanced. I'm gonna say any meta that's properly balanced, at least in my opinion, you're gonna see fantastic synergies between DPS duos, and that really kind of, the strength of a DPS duo can do a lot for a team, and it makes it makes the how can I say this? It's what makes good play fun to watch. Like for instance, when you have the Shadowburn Carpes, when you have the Dreamcasper Strikers, when you have the Jake Lynxers, when you have the Bird Ring and Prophet combos.
Sabio being Libero.
Sabio, yeah.
They may have lost in the final match.
Well, yeah.
But obviously, they're still.
Yeah,
Pine and anybody else.
Pine and Sabio, Pine and Libero.
But watching the way the DPS duos work together and seeing how that fits into the puzzle of the team and how the team works with them, and then how the tank line works together. I mean, Cool Matt and Muma are a perfect example of an in-sync tank duo that really know how to play off each other. It's super entertaining and fun to watch, but specifically London with Bird Ring and Prophet this week, it's been like Vox was saying, it was above and beyond. They really stepped up their game. It's one of those things where you know they're good and you see them make good plays throughout the beginning of stage 1, but last week it was like, this last week's matches were just wow. Bird Ring was doing some stuff that was like, man.
Yeah, he was on another level compared to all the DPS this weekend.
Yeah, are those refs doing their job? They making sure he's not hacking? Bringing a little thumb drive in there. Jeez, good stuff.
Little known fact, that monitor upgrade, he actually was playing on 144. They dropped everybody else to a normal monitor. That was what led him to such a high level.
Yeah,
he's the only one that got upgraded.
Oh my gosh, that makes sense.
Maybe just at 1,000 hertz.
1,000 hertz. Oh my god.
Yeah, 1,000 hertz. 1,000.
Everybody
FPS.
thought they were sending London their energy. They were actually sending them their hertz from their monitors.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for Bird Ring.
That's how hertz work. I've always wondered.
And that's how science works.
I think if you get
Science.
1,000 hertz and 1,000 FPS, you actually you no longer see the images on the monitor.
You
just
are
see
the
them
images.
in your mind.
Oh,
You see them in your mind.
okay.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
like
what
VR,
Bird Ring was doing
but
this
in your
weekend.
brain.
Yeah.
Brain
Mind.
VR. Oh my goodness.
It's VR. Bird Ring.
Bird
Yeah,
Ring.
exactly.
All right. Well, I got the last clip here, and of course, it's from your
Yeah, it is.
it's from your one and only
Reason why it's last.
reason why it's last is because it's the
Last
best.
and least. Just kidding.
Aw.
Just kidding. Dreamcasper is phenomenal.
It's your boy
Yeah.
Dreamcasper. I'm just gonna let this play here. He just knocks off Lynxer off the edge here on Ilios. Pops in the back, gets an ult off, able to kill Muma. Makes the diva go away. He's getting healed, but that's okay. He comes over here, gets this boop on Tracer, and point one. they won the point. The reason why I love this clip is Dreamcasper, and I know every caster during the league and pretty much everybody that I know of, anyways, has been just harping on how good Dreamcasper is, but it's for a reason. He's making these clutch plays like this. It's phenomenal, and what I love here is not only his play, of course, but as always the team play. Notes over there getting super aggressive, taking a lot of those rockets and strikes that Cool Matt was sending towards Dreamcasper and absorbing a lot of that. At the same time, Dreamcasper is also being healed by Kellex and kept alive. He's the playmaker. They got to keep the playmaker alive, and this is what happens when you can make that happen. And then but then whenever the team puts this much effort into keeping you alive, the playmaker, you have to perform to expectation, and Dreamcasper absolutely does that. His map awareness and his positional awareness is definitely on another level, right up there along with the likes of Birdring and Pine and all those guys. So definitely an excellent showcase of Dreamcasper's skill. And I remember when I was watching this live, I was just like, this guy cannot be stopped. And I was thinking we were gonna win it, but Houston came out at the end. But
yeah, Dreamcasper's Pharah play is exceptionally good. It's really shown, especially anytime he's gotten into actual Pharah duels with other teams.
Yep.
He's come out on top almost every single time,
Yep.
which is not something that you should really do when Pharah a lot of the time is based upon just getting lucky and predicting where they're going to be with your rocket, and for you to come out on top of it consistently, it just kind of shows that you're quite a bit better than the other ones playing it. And he's done real well on Pharah. He's won Pharah duels to the point where I don't even think Houston took him on Pharah duels. I think they just went double hit scan because they were just like, we're not going to fight him up there. We're just going to run this and outclass him this way.
I just got a message from our Symmetra main friend, and he just said, "Attack Symmetra is my new life." Oh my gosh.
We'll leave his IGN in the description down below after
everybody
the video,
flame-
and everybody report him.
Yeah.
Please just
feel
report
free
him. Get him
to
out of this
report
game.
him. Let's get rid of that one trick.
I know you're hearing
Yeah.
this next week, Symmetra main, and I hope you know
Wait a minute.
we love you.
Did
what? What's up?
Oh, okay. I was trying to find in the settings when Boston played Seoul, and I found it on January 19th. Out of curiosity.
Oh, yep.
Just because, like, his Pharah is super good, but it still can be beat by the likes of Fleta and some of the other just way upper echelon people.
Well, Soul does that other technique with it, though, where they throw that Discord, and then Fleta just full dives the other Pharah, because as long as he lands one rocket, that's the game. Because he has boosted Mercy into it, and they commit to it so hard, and he almost always hits it. And that's why Clockwork looked awful against him, was because they're just so good at that. And unless you're like unless you're also Fleta, you're not going to really have a good option for that. Soul does that really well on those counter pharmacy plays, because when you're doing pharmacy battles on a map, it's so dependent on getting that other one out of the sky. So they just 100% commit to taking out the other Pharah, and that's why they do pretty well.
Yeah,
on those
watching
Pharahs.
Fleta versus Libero when it was New York Excelsior versus Soul Dynasty. It was awesome to watch those those Pharah fights, because
It's funny.
They
really
level of
you get that
commitment to
pick
that
and it
Discord
just
boost,
well, I mean,
though.
when you get the enemy Pharah out of the sky, it loosens up so much pressure that your other teammates have, because they no longer have to watch their heads above them. They can focus on what they're doing down on the ground. It's
And
like
when you
when you win a Widow duel, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
You just create so much space for your team to then do what they want to do, because they don't have to worry about a crossfire.
When you're an uncontested Pharah in the air, and most teams, they don't have a ton of counter to Pharah. The pharmacy is kind of the counter to the other pharmacy to keep it sort of balanced. So if you eliminate part of that, it just immediately gives you just a huge advantage, and you win it almost every time if you can be the first one to get that.
That was probably one of my favorite things that evolved through Overwatch League, because before the league really started, if you had pharmacy, you had a good Widow counterpart or a McCree, and they just kind of went on the hit scan. Overwatch League, at some point, somebody was like, well, that pharmacy is unstoppable, but we can be more unstoppable. So they just let's fight fire with fire. Let's get a pharmacy versus pharmacy, and it's happened so much, but it's awesome for us
Yeah.
because it's cool as shit to
As
watch.
Uber has referred to it, as we have a bigger button than you, Meta.
Yeah.
No, I love the Farah battles in midair, but it's funny because while that's one of probably the most entertaining things to watch in OWL, it's one of the most terrible things to watch on lower tier teams. I remember a few contenders games where the Farahs were trying to go at it, and it's like, guys, stop.
This rockets missed everywhere for a minute.
Yeah, I can't remember what game it was. It was during this last season of contenders. It wasn't even semifinal. It was just like during the regular like part of the beginning of the tournament. There was a team, and I just can't remember who it was, but these two Farahs were just slugging it mid-air, wide misses. But I mean, the cameraman just stayed on him the whole time, just miss. And I think it might have been Monty that was casting this, and he was like, guys, stop. He's like, go look. Actually, I think it was ZP. He's like, you guys should stop.
Really?
You guys should stop doing that. You should go help your team. I mean, you can make the argument that they are helping the team by keeping the other Farah busy, but I mean, geez, come on, man.
Sort of. The other way to work around a Farah is just to completely ignore her and kill the other team faster.
Well,
which doesn't work at the highest level, but it works on anything under that.
Well, something we've saw actually Houston pull out against Boston was Dreamcasper on the Farah. He's definitely a better Farah than probably anybody that Houston has on hand. You know, Houston's got some great players, but they're, as far as Farah and Genji, not quite in the top tiers, like you know, your Shadowburns and whatnot. And instead of trying to do this, you know, Farah battle, they just went out with a double hit scan and just completely shut. They were able to take that first point in like less than a minute, just by shutting out Dreamcasper. You know, just like, hey, get out of here. You know, when a team is built around a duo synergy of Striker and Dreamcasper, and you're able to completely eliminate one of those equations almost entirely, that negates you needing to have that rocket damage. And they showed it because it worked. They won. They forced Dreamcasper to switch to Genji. Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know, force him to swap to Genji. It's just pick your poison, you know.
Well,
him on Farah, him on Genji. There's not a whole lot of difference.
Well, right.
Farah duel, keep him off Genji.
But you know, well, actually, his Genji v Farah is pretty nutty. Yeah, actually.
Genji was.
But no, it's again one of those neat things that when this, it's kind of stuff you only see in OWL, at this high level of play, these crazy counters and the things that these teams run. You know, it's you know, try doing half of those on ladder. It's just not going to work.
Well, yeah.
Trying to get two people to do the same thing on ladder. That's...
Honestly, trying to get any amount of people in any video game to coordinate together that aren't, you know, pre-existing groups is kind of like herding cats. It's just, you know, they'll run around in the same space kind of, but you can't get them to do anything. Not necessarily. and the harder you try, sometimes the worse it gets. So
yeah, that's true. So that kind of does it for our clips. We're just gonna kind of wind down by going today because it's not gonna be a long episode today. We're gonna definitely go the meat and potatoes of the news. And
you explained we're doing it differently, but did you explain how?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I said.
I think I just tuned you out.
That's all right. That's all right. As a refresher.
Accurate.
Just trying to prepare what I was gonna say.
Now I feel bad.
Let me get you.
No.
Let me stop you right there. Your setup was good, but I don't think it was good to say.
Anyways, as a refresher, we're just kind of going over the matches and the teams of basically this last week's performance, news and stuff that's coming up and coming, and kind of stuff involving the league and what's going to come in stage 2, balancing, patching, all that stuff. We're just going to go over an entirely different episode next week. We're not going to do clips next week. We're literally just going to be going over all this news and whatnot. So you're going to get 2 little shorter than usual episodes, which is probably good because our normal episodes are like an hour and a half, hour 45.
I think it was an interesting idea. Any
Yeah.
feedback we get on that, let us know.
Yeah.
If the shorter episodes, things being split up is easier to adjust, if it's better,
Yeah.
or if just having it all in one is better.
Exactly. But I think this is the best way we can do this so that we're not trying to come up with stuff out of thin air, but we're also not running over on time because there's a lot of stuff happening. And also within the week downtime, there's surely going to be more news and some other crazy stuff going on. So we're just gonna go ahead and put all that in a new another episode next Sunday, or Monday if we're late on recording, as has happened a few times. But it should be Sunday, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't have done last Sunday. Pax was too busy mourning the Patriots loss.
I was, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I felt good though because I was like, you know what, Boston's gonna bring it to Philadelphia Fusion, come Wednesday or whenever they play.
And they did.
They did. They really did. It was a good day. It's good to
but
have.
I mean, even Florida brought it to Fusion, so something's a bit up with that team at the moment.
I don't know if Florida just got an upswing or what was going on.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Those Poco nerfs, man.
Yeah, they nerfed Poco too hard.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Yeah,
I gotta put that stuff on the PTR first. Let us test it.
I'm not really sure what happened there or what's going on with Philly in general. Fish brought up something, I think yesterday, or maybe it was Vox. I don't remember. We play a lot of games.
Which thing did I bring up?
Where the aggressive play style of Philadelphia Fusion, but the part of the reason why they probably won a lot of early matches. And now this is all hypothetical, but a lot of it could be just teams didn't respect their strength as individual players to start, and then 2, they were so aggressive that it really. I mean, Fraggy's probably the most reckless tank there is right now, and so
I think reckless is fair because there's a difference between being super aggressive and being reckless, and at times I think what it might be is that, like you said, people were underestimating them a bit coming into because they hadn't played, so they were kind of caught off guard and they had to learn the hard way just how good Shadowburn was. Like, he didn't drop off or anything, and how good Carpe was and as a team. But there's a difference between playing an aggressive style based off of just trying to outplay your opponents entirely, and the aggressive style that Nixel kind of has, where it's very aggressive, but it's all coordinated too. I think it's just the coordination isn't quite at the level of some of the other teams. So once people figure that out, you can kind of just let somebody who's too aggressive or reckless kind of bash their head against things, and you can kind of just take a step back and watch them and then hit them when they're tired, right? So
yeah, that, and it feels a little bit like they're trying to rein in the Fusion to play less aggressive and reckless, so it kind of seems like they're going through a little bit of growing pains.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Playing like a normal team and not just 6 dudes that just kill the shit out of the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about brute force. I mean, we're just
work.
talking pure talent on that team. I mean, it's brutal. I mean, even if they didn't come in with a strategy, just the sheer technical skill of Carpe and Shadowburn alone is insane. And then you got Poco getting magic bombs, and then Fraggy will chase you to the ends of the earth, so you better keep running. And Boombox, I don't know if he knows that Zenyatta has a shift button that heals people. I think he just thinks he's a pretty sweet DPS. He's a little bit like Jonak in that regard. So
a little bit.
That team is so aggressive that, I mean, strategy out the window, they can still put on a good game.
You can have the most concrete strategy in the world, but at the end of the day, if something goes wrong and everybody's dead because Shadowburn just got a quad off of his Dragon Blade, your strategy is now, how do you get out of spawn and recover from that?
Yeah, so I think Fish has a good point where I think they're going through some growing pains right now. They got a lot of stuff to work on as far as team comp and how they're reading the enemy and how they're preparing for who they're facing up against. That's going to take some growing, and coaching is what's going to help with that. And so I don't think people should be discounting them. I don't think they should be placed low. I think they're another contender worthy team. I think they're just gonna take a little time.
You mean like they should be in contenders instead of Overwatch League?
I know I said that wrong. I'm sorry. That's not what I mean.
That's a bit harsh, man.
That's not what I mean.
Words like bullets that pass right.
No. I mean they're a contender for playoffs rather.
Yes.
for the top
I would-
half for sure.
I think so.
Yeah. With their stuff together, they're definitely one of the teams that can take wins off anybody.
Exactly.
I mean, they would have too if the Uprising hadn't lived to be their namesake so much.
Well,
Philly probably would have got in there.
and yeah, and our all stars of stage one, the end of stage one, being the London Spitfire. They're a perfect example of growing pains as well. When they started, I mean, preseason they got, was it 4-0'd by Gladiators? No, I don't know if it was 4. They got beat by Gladiators regardless in preseason, and during the beginning of season one, the beginning of stage one, they were struggling against certain teams. I mean, Boston beat them. Pretty well.
They
3-2'd.
They of course looked good, but when it came to when it came to the likes of New York Excelsior and Seoul Dynasty and the London Spitfires, the 3 all-Korean rosters, London was good, but they looked the least convincing of those
Absolutely.
of those 3 teams the way they got their wins and stuff.
But yeah, okay,
like we thought, it was synergy. They were working on it. Clearly, the process, trust the process. It's paid off right now in stage 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can see it. So London now looks really hot. I mean, they're just doing phenomenally well, and I think a lot of that has to do with growing pains as a team and adjusting to this higher tier environment. And it's funny because I remember a lot of people also on Reddit and Twitter and whatnot kind of harping on OWL, and when they were talking about the teams coming in, they were like, "Oh, you don't even have AKM, and you don't even have this person or that person." And it's like, how can you call yourself the pinnacle of competition when you don't have X player? And I think that's just the most ridiculous argument in the world, because the pinnacle of competition does not depend on you having that one super cool hitscan player. That's not how a team-based competitive game
the pinnacle
goes.
is 2 teams about equally matched, going tooth and nail the whole way, taking it to the last stretch, and just playing for that extra little bit of I don't know, insert whatever word you want there to get out the win. Rip tire, the extra little rip tire, the extra little bird ring, whatever that word means.
Yeah,
I think we could all strive to have a little more bird ring in our lives, right? Go out there and find
absolutely.
your bird ring.
The perfect example is, look at the games that we've had. We've had so many over this past stage. We've had so many upsets. We've had a lot of really, really, really close games. We've had players come out of absolutely nowhere showing themselves to be superstars. We've had very few games have I tuned into. We watch, between the 3 of us, we watch just about every single game. Very few games have we seen that we're like, oh wow, this is I just don't want to watch this. This isn't worth, because it's gonna go just as you expect. Very, very few games, very few, if any at all.
There's always some surprise.
Yeah, even the Philly versus Florida one, everyone kind of. I kind of expected it to go one way. I maybe even a 4-0 from Philly.
I wanted it to be a 4-0. I think we all did, but only because, not that we had anything against Florida necessarily, but we just wanted to get to the playoffs quicker.
4-0 either way.
That's what I wanted. I was like, I want a 4-0 so I can just get to the next map sooner.
It was a very long day.
I wanted to see London versus Houston.
Yep. As Houston fans here collectively, we definitely wanted to see that. Yep.
Yeah.
But anyways, London definitely the team that showed their true colors and kind of went above and beyond as far as their team play is concerned. And you could see it on their faces, like when I don't know if I have the clip. I don't think I do. If anybody else does, the clip of when they won they beat Nixel for the second time.
No.
Well,
that. I can't analyze that. I mean, I guess I could, but I don't remember that.
I just mean when
what that means.
What?
That means he's happy.
No,
Are you talking about the player reactions or the actual?
Yeah, the player reactions after when the finals rolled through, and after they, London beat New York on that last map. Just the look on all their faces was just shock and pure joy that this happened. And
they did lose to them like 2 hours before that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
actually more than 2, but yeah, earlier.
But yeah, you know what I mean. They had just lost to them already once in the day.
That's another thing we haven't talked about yet, though, that I think is really, props to them. They not only lost to New York, who they then beat in the finals,
Yep.
but they played 14. The last map that they won on, the fifth map, was their 14th map that day that they had played.
They played a
And,
lot.
you know,
a lot.
There's a huge difference. I can't remember which player it was, but one of the players was just saying, playing 1 hour of playing one matchup, in a day in Overwatch League is way more tiring than an entire day of scrims. And I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It's obvious you got all that. You got that extra tension. You got all that extra, being on the stage and
you have to perform.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot more going into it. It's it's the fact that they did that all day pretty much and still pulled out a win. It's really great. A lot of fortitude.
And the fact that the two teams they beat there at the end were the two teams that they had lost to on just Thursday. They lost to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Then Saturday morning they lost to New York. Then they beat Houston, and then they beat New York.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Really
a huge mental game there.
There's it's a ton of stress, and there's some people that are like, I remember I was talking about this in Discord, and they were like, it's just 2 games, and it's like, dude, it's not just 2 games.
It's not quite 2 games. It's like you playing 5 games of comp, then playing 5 more games of comp, then playing another 5 games of comp.
Not to mention, you're playing those games of comp against the other best players in the world.
And
so
you're on a stage.
You have to be 100% on your game. Like, you can't just let the rest of your team carry you.
No.
Okay, no, you have to be on your game always against
bathroom breaks alone.
Especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You really got to be up there. So you got to be playing your best consistently for as long as they were, and it's tiring mentally, And the mental side of it makes it tiring enough that you feel it physically too.
Exactly. Yeah, and so we're in our hero select here for our last section here. Our hero
I think
select.
we kind of unintentionally already transitioned past that. We were talking about him already.
Yeah, well it's Birdring.
Ding ding, it's Birdring.
It's Birdring. He was the hero of the week.
Squaw! The Birdring squaw.
Birdring.
Believe it or not, it's Birdring.
Damon.
No, Birdring. He is the guy that went above and beyond all week. Okay.
London.
All right, now the rest of the podcast will be us singing about Birdring. No, he was phenomenal. He did super good. He played above and beyond. He definitely showed that he can improve, and he has more to show. He enabled London to do what they did. The London wouldn't have been able to do what they did without his expertise and without his extra push.
London would not have been able to.
The London Spitfire.
London.
Birdring is the playmaker. I mean, that's what we're talking about. DPS are the playmakers, and if you have somebody that can make a play out of almost thin air, which is what Birdring did several times, especially towards the end, that's just and you have a team that can capitalize on it, which London did. Yeah. I mean, that's a championship.
That's the important part. Like we've highlighted with different clips, at the highest levels, somebody creates an opening, they don't question it too much. There's probably gonna be the initial, is it good? Yeah, it's good, but it's very quick. When they realize they have an advantage, they press it. They don't do that shit from horror movies where the weak girl or whatever is fighting the monster and she or the dude knocks him on his ass and then drops the bat or whatever the hell she has and then keeps running. No, they knock him on their ass and then they take the bat and they keep bashing him when they're on the ground because that's how you win. That's how you survive.
Yep.
Yep. You
punish.
You don't wait for them to make another mistake. You capitalize on the one that's there in the moment.
Exactly. Oh, man. Well, we are at an hour, which is super early. 54 minutes.
I can't say one more thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
Since, I'm the New York Excelsior fanboy. I'm a fan. I mean, really, I'm a fan of everyone.
Well, you are a boy and
kind
you're a fan.
In a way, because I'm yeah, exactly. I'm a boy of fan. Anyway, so my favorite team is Nixel. We talk about Houston. Kind of collectively, Houston's our favorite team.
Yep.
I've been a fan of Seoul. Like Seoul and Nixel and London kind of started out as my 3 favorites.
He's a Korea, bro. Just so
Well,
everybody
that too.
knows.
That, and I've also been loyal to Cloud9, and I mean, I can't not like that tiger symbol from Seoul. You know, it kind of worked out though. When Seoul and New York were playing, I felt myself rooting more for New York, so I was like, well, that's it. They're my favorite. So they're my actual favorite team. But one thing that bothered me about their loss, London super deserved it and brought it to them. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well,
Yeah.
you know, it's Nixel's game to lose. You know, it's not that. But
Yeah.
they did kind of throw in an interesting way in that they got, and well, Sabiobi said it on Twitter on a press conference the other day or yesterday after it, but it reminded them of when they had lost the finals in Apex as LW Blue because or after they had won one, then they lost the next season because they were too cocky. They think they were too cocky, and it's interesting because they had earlier in the series they had made some really interesting swaps. So when they're on Junkertown and London was trying to full hold them at that first point, and they did the death ball comp with all the tanks, Libero was like, well, screw you guys, I'm gonna play Pharah, and just went up top because he was completely uncontested by that. The only thing that could test him was a hook, and he was good at dodging those, so he just rained hell, and then they got that first point and won the map off of that. Which I'm really trying to remember which map it was. I can't remember, but he swapped to Reaper, and it was really good swap there at the end. They had done those interesting swaps, but when it came down to that final series, they just kept trying the same exact thing over the course of the last three maps they lost, and they could not switch. They would not switch it up.
Do you think that was a result of fatigue, or do you think that was intentional?
It could have been. I mean, you know, fatigue's an interesting thing, right? You think if you don't think about it, you'd say, oh well, London's probably more fatigued, right? Because they've been playing all day, which is possible. But you know, there's the other side, and they brought it up too. They just had a warm up, right? Have you ever taken a nap, thought you'd wake up more refreshed or something, and then ended up way more tired afterwards? It happens sometimes, you know. All the rest between the match, maybe they ended up making themselves more tired than if they could have just played. I mean, I generally, if I have something to do, I'd rather not take a rest because it tends to affect me negatively. Whereas if I just keep rolling and I keep that energy and momentum going, it carries me better. So, you know, maybe it was a fatigue thing for them. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's no way it could be unless I was an insider with the team. But yeah, I think it was interesting though because they had done those swaps earlier and they didn't. I think though it was more like they're saying it was cockiness. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. They were confident that they could make it work. You know, they kept trying it and it didn't work, which is bad in some ways. But at the same time, having that base confidence is one of the ways that you build a winning team. You know, the fact that they're confident that it will work if they keep doing it. You know, it was the wrong decision at that moment and it cost them. But you know, can't say it was wrong. You know, maybe they would have made those swaps and London still would have outplayed them, you know. Yeah. But it was definitely kind of a disappointing way to see them lose, you know. Because it felt like it wasn't – it didn't seem – the series didn't go kind of the way that the one earlier in the day did where it was really tooth and nail. After they started getting reverse sweeped, not that New York didn't really play well. Of course they did, but they kind of like – they had been kind of knocked down a peg a little bit. You know, they weren't really bringing it to him every single way, and you know the healers were getting caught out quite a bit. We had other clips that we didn't even put in here that were just Prophet and/or Birdring just killing both the healers on New York and just immediately stopping pushes and stuff. So I don't know, but I still love that team. They're still my favorite. You know, if nothing else, they win in the personality department, which is big for me.
That they do.
Yeah.
That is true.
In personality department, real quick before we wrap it up, Golden Boy's back. I was glad to see him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that.
It was fun because it lets you not get worn down by Chris Puckett all the time. So you get excited to see Puckett and you get excited to see Golden Boy. Yeah. So you never get tired of the two.
And Malik.
Swap up.
Malik's been a really good addition, too.
I like that. It's definitely been a nice Malik just kind of bringing the hype, going in, stirring the crowd, kind of giving a little recap over each type. I think that's a nice little touch.
Likes to say cringe every time Malik does anything, but Twitch chat is
what? I
wrong
don't get
on
that.
Nothing he does is cringe. He's good at creating excitement and bringing some more fun into it. Twitch chat just
has anybody seen any other sport ever?
Most people don't know what the word cringe is.
There's always the hype man.
He's a good hype man. He's very good.
There's nothing wrong with that, and it's very tasteful. He does it well. He doesn't go overboard. He doesn't say anything too crazy. He doesn't. It's good. It's very good. It's a nice little reprieve from the very kind of not monotone, but like the casters have a certain way of speaking, and especially when they're going straight from analysis to casting, and Zoe helps a lot by breaking that up when she does the talking to the players, and she kind of goes over what she said with the coaches and stuff. She helps break that up, but now we just have another person to kind of even further.
Plus, he's got
it.
more experience doing it too, because he was doing that with E-League and other
and contenders. He did in contenders,
yeah. And, I'd forgotten about that.
Yep. And then
he's a good hype man.
And like Fish said, Golden Boy, I was so happy to see him. I loved Golden Boy's casting, and he does, but his hosting is phenomenal, and it's a different style of Chris Puckett. And like just like Fish said, it's nice because then it makes you go, "Oh, dude, Chris is back." It's good to hear Chris. And then when Golden Boy comes on, it's like, dude, it's good to hear. It's good to hear the Golden Boys, take on things and whatnot. So, and they're going to be adding more. They're going to be adding more people on onto the cast. I'm excited. There's already confirmed a. I don't know if they're going to be casters or what exactly their role is.
Is this news? We were going to do that next episode.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We have to restrain ourselves, dude.
Yes.
We have so much to talk about next episode.
Kind of my fault because we were about to end, but I didn't bring this part up. I just wanted to get my piece.
I just wanted to bring it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We have lots of stuff that we're going to be talking about next podcast.
Should we show that image that you brought in there? The Raucous one?
No.
I mean, who will put it on his thing?
No, we're not putting that up.
Fans or just fans of funny things in general? Is it on his Twitter?
No.
Oh,
it was on Muma's stuff.
Go to Muma's Twitter and look for a picture of Raucous. It's quite entertaining.
If we get enough people that want a cooldown session that we air on Twitch afterwards, where we just go over memes and stuff, we'll maybe do that sometime. But for right now, we're not gonna go over that. Oh man, okay.
It's there in the chat, taunting me. It's so good. Yeah, just go look at Muma's Twitter.
Okay, all right. We're fair enough. He does have a good Widow highlight though, but okay.
Great.
All right, so we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about next week. We're going to be going over, like I said, all the news and all the stuff building up to the beginning of Stage 2, which begins. Stage 2 begins the 21st of February. So we'll
my birthday.
Ooh.
My birthday.
I'll buy you loot boxes.
Oh,
okay. Never mind. I won't do it.
Do you buy me loot box? It's my birthday too. It's my birthday today and tomorrow and the next day.
All right, so we're gonna go over
Genji skin.
We're gonna go over all this next week, but that's it for this episode. I know it's short, but thank you all for listening. As always, if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to see on the show, or for any clips you'd like to see or ideas, please don't hesitate to let us know. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Leave a message there or anywhere. Or if you prefer to send us an email, you can send one at onetrickheropodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, that's it. Thank you everybody for listening and hearing us rant here at the end. I kind of don't know what to do right now because normally we just have so much other content that I'm just like, or we go through so much content that at the end of it I'm just like, we're done. But now I just feel like there's so much to talk about, and
we got news and news and news.
We got news.
And listening to us talk, next week's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, next week's all talk. So. Not that.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, every week's all talk.
Most of it. It's going to be all talk, and we'll bring you some of our personal highlights from the weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, check out my Lucio boobs. Ooh.
Yeah.
We'll toss you some of our stuff. Some real solid bronze tier play.
Let me.
Just kidding, dude.
Follow along and try to figure out with me how the hell I landed a pulse bomb on like 2 or 3 people, because I don't know why they stood there, but they did.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you all so much for listening. We will see you all next week. Until then, take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Ow.